That has got to be the biggest soap bubble in history. I mean, did you see the size of that thing? Sisters, my name is Daidarius and welcome to the review of Annihilation. So Annihilation is a movie that I would have loved to see in cinema. Unfortunately, the producers of this movie, or the distributors of this movie, didn't think that it would go well outside of the United States, so it was only released in cinemas in the United States, and then everywhere else it was released on Netflix, and I have not seen it until now. I know I'm a bit late in the game of this movie, however I do think that it deserves a review, so here goes. This movie does draw some inspiration from Arrival, and by that I mean it is not told linear per se. It is told in 3 separate timelines. However, it doesn't really interfere with the movie's narrative, since it is part of the movie's narrative to tell it from these different timelines woven into each other. And that is also where I will stop, compare it to Arrival, because these movies are extremely different. Now, this movie is a bit confusing when you go into it, and I think it does that on purpose, because this movie doesn't want to give you some real answers. It just wants to take you on a journey, and then you can decide for yourself what the real answers are. However, what we do know is that there is a meteor who crashed into a lighthouse. Yes. And then there is this soap bubble thingy that expands, and the military has sent people in, and every time they send someone in, no one comes back, and this bubble keeps expanding. So we need to find out what it is, what's going on, and can we stop it before it engulfs the whole planet. Natalie Portman's husband is the only one to come back from this soap bubble thingy, and since he is dying, she wants to go in and find out what's happened to him and then maybe be able to cure him. That is the premise of this movie, so to speak. Now, I could go into more details, but I think I will ruin the experience for you, because this movie is viewed best when you know nothing. And I know you can probably say that about every movie, but this movie, it is particularly important that you know absolutely nothing except for what sets this movie in motion. So what did I like about the movie? I like the main cast, which is Natalie Portman and a group of female explorers who go into this bubble to explore and find out the cause and root of all of it. And once they go in there, shit go crazy. You don't know what's real and what is not. And I love the fact the movie makes you feel that way, because that is the experience of our main characters. They don't know what is real and what is not once they go in there. All I know is that everything is fragmented. It's not what it's supposed to be. It is something different, but not quite. And the deeper they go into this place, the more fragmented things becomes, and the more weird things becomes, and even their minds become a mesh. Now, this movie does take its time to tell its story. It is not a hurry to get to the finish line, and you don't even know if it wants to get to the finish line or if it just wants to tell a specific story in this little setting, and everything out of this bubble is irrelevant to the story. The acting is great, the relationship is on edge, because these women doesn't really know each other, and things does go horribly wrong during this exposition, and in the meantime you're just sitting there trying to piece together information that is presented to you to find out what the fuck is going on in this dimension thingy that they're in, and what is the point of all of it. And you don't know, but you are presented enough information to kind of paint your own picture of what is going on. And I like the fact the movie is doing this. It is not giving you all the answers. It is just presenting you enough information so you can come to your own conclusion. And I know I'm going in circles because I'm just saying the same thing over and over again, but this is the movie's strength, and all of the abstract things presented in the movie kinda makes sense the longer you go into the movie. In the beginning, just asking questions, how come things look like that or behave like that? But the more information you are fed, the more sense things make, even though you're still standing there going, are you sure? And you can really see these characters struggle with their own mind because they don't know what is real and what is not, which means they are keen to turn on each other, even though them sticking together might be the only way they can survive this expedition. This movie does have some action scenes, but they're not that action heavy. They're more just like exciting things that happens. And if you ask me, these scenes did not need to happen at all. It just seems like it was some entertainment thrown in there to make sure that you didn't lose all of the audience while screening this movie. This movie is also extremely beautiful to look at. It is like an abstract painting of some sort when you look at the thing. You can't really explain how things look and what's going on in this bubble. You need to experience it, so it's like the Matrix. But everything is done beautifully. However, there are some times where the CGI just take a dip and you kind of notice, which I think is a bummer, because if it just evened out how they did the CGI throughout the movie, you wouldn't mind that much. But when there's some places when the CGI is perfect and other times where the CGI is not that great, it does become an eyesore and it does take you out of the movie, especially in the end. I'm not going to spoil the end, but the end is a double-edged sword for me. On one end, this ending is experimental as fuck. When I saw this 5, maybe 10 minutes long scene, it reminded me of a lot of these experimental short films. The good thing about the short films format is the fact that you have room to experiment. You don't need to have 3 acts to tell a beginning, a middle, and an end. You can do whatever you want with the short film format. You can express some abstract, symbolic feelings. You can express a short moment. You can express a thought. You can express some frustration or emotion. You can express whatever you want. This scene does that, and it works wonders. However, the movie does come to an abnormally sudden halt during this sequence, because you kind of feel like this sequence doesn't really fit in with the rest of the movie. And I know the rest of the movie is abstract, it is symbolic, it is kind of artsy, but this just takes it to a whole nother level. And then after that, we are back to the symbolic, abstract, artsy thing from before this scene. So the scene just kind of feel like misplaced, which is kind of a bummer because the movie was doing so great up until now. However, you can say that about the rest of the movie. The rest of the movie is extremely experimental, and not all of these experiments stick the landing. Some of it does make you wonder in a good way, where something else just make you go, what was the point of that scene in relation to the other scenes? I don't know if that was the director's points from the get-go. However, this is a line who is hard to balance, and he does stumble on the way while making this movie. On one way, you can say this is an abstract movie who's trying to ask the question, what makes us not human but us? What is our mind? What is us up here, and how fragile is it, and how will it look like if you fracture it through a lens of prism? I think it will be prism. If you fracture through a prism, how will the mind look like? On the other hand, you can see this as a motion picture version of a short film experiment. And I like the ambition behind this move, if that was the original move, trying to make a short film format work in the big film format. But I do need to warn you, if you don't like the experimental short films where you can actually understand and analyze the art form in it without it being too heavy, if you don't like the slow scenes with no dialogue, you have to put your mindset into the character to understand their choices and why they behave like they do. If you don't like that, this movie is gonna bore the fuck out of you, just being honest. However, if you do find it intriguing or do find some entertainment value in those kind of movies and short films, you will actually find something to enjoy in this movie, which means that it is hard to recommend this movie to everybody. This is not a movie you can recommend to every single person on earth. For me, I will say that this movie is worth watching in cinema, entertainment guaranteed. Holy fucking shit. The last few movies I have given that rating. Maybe I should watch something better or worse to, diverge the... So, Annihilation, have you seen it? What did you think about it? And what did you think the ending meant? Whatever you think, comment below and read your thoughts. And as always, until I see you in the next video, remember to stay awesome. Bye! I got nothing for this. This is just an abstract.